The letter arrived on a quiet morning when the house was still cool and the street outside was silent. It was a thin white envelope with careful writing on the front. The name was written clearly, as if the sender wanted no mistake. The family did not expect mail like this. Most days, they only received bills or notices. This letter felt different the moment it was picked up. The family lived in a small rented home at the edge of town. The walls were old, the paint faded, and the roof made soft sounds when the wind passed over it. There were 4 of them. Adam was the father, a man who worked long hours fixing machines and tools for anyone who needed help. His hands were rough, his back often sore, but his eyes were kind. His wife, Maria, took care of the house and worked part-time cleaning offices at night. She carried worry quietly, never letting the children see how heavy it felt. Their son Ben was 14, curious and thoughtful, always asking questions about the world. Their daughter Lily was 9, bright and full of energy, with a habit of dreaming out loud. Adam opened the letter at the small kitchen table. Maria stood beside him, drying her hands on a cloth. Ben leaned against the wall, and Lily sat on the floor, drawing shapes with a pencil. The letter explained that a distant relative had passed away years ago, and only now had the legal work been completed. The property mentioned was an old mansion once owned by a famous singer, Kenny Rogers. The house had been empty for a long time, forgotten by most people. The letter stated that the mansion now belonged to Adam and his family. At first, Adam thought it was a mistake. He read the letter again, slowly. Maria took it from him and read it herself. Her eyes widened, then narrowed as if she was trying to protect herself from hope. Ben stepped closer, asking what it meant. Lily looked up and smiled without understanding, sensing excitement in the room. A mansion felt like a word from a story, not real life. The family had never owned a home, let alone something so large and famous. Adam folded the letter carefully and sat down. He felt his heart beating faster. Maria sat beside him and placed a hand on his arm. They talked quietly for a long time. They worried it might be a trick or some mistake that would disappear as soon as they asked questions. Still, the letter included official seals and contact information. Everything looked real. A week later, after many phone calls and careful checks, they stood in front of tall iron gates surrounded by trees. The mansion rose behind them, large and quiet, its windows dark. The building showed signs of age, but its shape was strong and proud. Vines climbed parts of the walls, and leaves covered the long driveway. Lily gasped when she saw it. Ben stared silently, trying to understand how such a place could belong to them. Maria held Adam's hand tightly. Adam felt small standing there, like a visitor in someone else's dream. The gates opened slowly with a low sound. The caretaker, an older man named Paul, greeted them. He had been hired years ago to check on the property once in a while, though no one came anymore. Paul spoke gently and explained that the mansion had been left untouched as requested. Very few people had entered it in many years. As they walked inside, the air felt cool and still. The floors were polished but dusty. Old furniture stood covered with white cloth. Large portraits hung on the walls, showing moments from a life once filled with music and applause. Ben noticed framed awards and photographs from concerts long past. Maria felt both wonder and sadness. The house was beautiful, but it also felt lonely. She imagined the sounds that once filled it, laughter, music, voices, now gone. They explored room by room. The living hall was wide, with high ceilings and tall windows that let in soft light. The kitchen was larger than their entire rented home. The bedrooms stretched down a long hallway, each with its own quiet story. Adam felt overwhelmed. He kept thinking about how they would care for such a place, how much it would cost, and whether they truly belonged here. Maria tried to calm him, reminding him that this could be a new beginning. After hours of walking, Paul mentioned something unusual. He said there was a locked room in the lower level that had never been opened since he started working there. He had been told to leave it untouched. The key was not kept with the others. This caught Adam's attention. Ben immediately became curious. Lily asked if it was a treasure room, making everyone smile. Maria felt a strange chill, though she could not explain why. Paul led them to a hidden door behind a wooden shelf in a quiet hallway. The shelf slid aside, revealing a narrow stairway leading down. The air grew colder as they descended. At the bottom stood a heavy metal door, dark and solid, with no handle visible. Paul shook his head and said he had never seen it opened. He handed Adam a small folder that had been kept in a safe. Inside was a note written years ago. It explained that a private vault existed in the mansion, created for safekeeping important items. The note mentioned a code but did not include it. Adam felt his pulse quicken. A vault was not something ordinary. Maria held Lily close. Ben studied the door carefully, noticing marks that suggested it had been used long ago. They decided not to force anything. The day had already been full of surprises. Adam locked the hidden passage again and thanked Paul. That night, the family stayed in one of the smaller guest rooms. They slept on mattresses brought in temporarily, listening to the sounds of the old house settling around them. Adam could not sleep. His thoughts raced. He wondered what was inside the vault and why it had been hidden so carefully. He also worried about the future. Would this gift change their lives for the better or bring new problems they were not ready to face? In the morning, sunlight filled the room. Maria made breakfast using the large kitchen, smiling as she cooked on a stove bigger than any she had used before. Lily ran through the halls, her laughter echoing. Ben explored the library, pulling books from shelves and reading titles with excitement. Later that day, Adam received another call. It was from a lawyer handling the estate. The lawyer explained that some records suggested valuable items were stored somewhere on the property, but no one had confirmed them. He advised Adam to document everything carefully. Adam shared this with Maria. They both looked toward the hidden hallway. The idea that something important might be waiting below the mansion made the air feel heavy again. That evening, Ben found something unexpected in the library. Tucked inside an old book was a small piece of paper. On it were numbers written neatly, followed by a short line that read, "Trust the music." Ben brought it to Adam at once. Adam stared at the paper, feeling a mix of excitement and fear. Maria joined them, reading the message carefully. They all knew what it might mean. The mansion, quiet for so many years, seemed to hold its breath. Whatever was hidden behind that metal door had waited a long time. And now, a poor family who had never imagined such a life stood at the edge of a secret that could change everything. The paper Ben found did not leave Adam's thoughts. All night, the words "trust the music" stayed in his mind. The numbers written below looked like a code, but without knowing how to use them, they were only a mystery. Adam woke early and walked through the quiet halls of the mansion. The house felt different now, as if it knew its secret had been noticed. Maria was already awake, sitting at the dining table with a cup of tea. She looked tired but calm. Adam showed her the paper again. She read it slowly, then folded it and placed it back on the table. "This house was built around music," she said softly. "Maybe the answer is part of that." Later that morning, they gathered in the living hall. Sunlight poured through tall windows, lighting the dust in the air. Ben held the paper carefully. Lily sat on the floor, swinging her legs, excited just to be included. They decided to search for anything connected to music. The mansion had once belonged to a singer whose life was shaped by songs, so it made sense. Ben suggested checking the music room Paul had mentioned the day before. They had not explored it fully yet. The music room was at the far end of the house. The door opened into a wide space with dark wooden walls. A grand piano stood in the center, its surface covered with a thin layer of dust. Guitars rested on stands along the walls. Old speakers, records, and framed lyrics filled the shelves. Maria felt a strange warmth in the room. It felt alive compared to the rest of the mansion. Adam walked toward the piano and lifted the cover gently. The keys were yellowed with age but still beautiful. Ben noticed a small metal panel near the side of the piano bench. It looked out of place. He knelt and wiped away dust. On it were small markings, faint but clear enough to see. The numbers on the paper matched the markings on the panel. Adam felt his heart beat faster. He pressed the panel lightly. It opened to reveal a small dial and a narrow slot, just big enough for a finger. They stood there silently. Maria placed her hand on Adam's arm. Lily leaned closer, her eyes wide. Adam turned the dial slowly, matching the numbers from the paper. Each click echoed softly through the room. When he reached the final number, the room stayed silent for a long moment. Then, a low sound came from the floor beneath the piano. Ben stepped back quickly. A section of the wooden floor shifted, revealing a hidden compartment. Inside was a small metal case, no bigger than a book. Adam lifted it carefully. It was heavy. There was a simple latch on the front. Inside, they found another note and an old key. The note was written in careful handwriting. It explained that the key opened the vault below the mansion. The message warned that what was inside was not meant for fame or noise, but for protection and purpose. The note ended with the same words as before, "Trust the music." No one spoke for a while. The meaning felt heavy. Adam closed the case and held the key tightly. They agreed to wait until evening before opening the vault. Maria wanted time to prepare herself. Adam respected that. Ben tried to act calm but could not hide his excitement. Lily asked questions non-stop, imagining rooms filled with gold and jewels. That afternoon, Paul returned to check on them. Adam showed him the key but not the note. Paul looked surprised and admitted he had never seen anything like it. He wished them luck and said he would stay nearby in case they needed help. As the sun began to set, the family gathered near the hidden hallway. The mansion was quiet again. The air felt cool and heavy as they slid the shelf aside and descended the stairs. The metal door stood exactly as before. Adam stepped forward and inserted the key into a hidden slot that became visible when pressed. The key turned smoothly. A soft sound followed, and the door slowly opened inward. Cold air rushed out. Inside was a wide room lined with metal shelves and strong lights that turned on automatically. The space was larger than they expected. The walls were thick, built to last. They stepped inside carefully. On the shelves were boxes, cases, and sealed containers. Everything was labeled and organized. This was not chaos or hidden mess. This was careful planning. Ben noticed a large digital screen on one wall. It displayed numbers that made his eyes widen. Maria gasped softly. The screen showed an account balance. The amount was more than they could imagine. $200 million. Adam felt dizzy. He had to sit down on a metal bench near the door. Maria covered her mouth, trying to breathe slowly. Lily did not understand the number, but she knew it was important by the way her parents reacted. Ben stared at the screen, his mind racing. He had read about large numbers in books, but seeing one connected to them felt unreal. The note from earlier explained more. The money had been placed here to be protected from misuse. It was meant to support causes the owner believed in and to help those in need, not to create noise or greed. The family had been chosen because of a quiet connection through distant family lines and because they lived simple lives. Maria felt tears in her eyes. She thought of all the nights she worried about bills and food. Adam thought of his broken tools and unpaid work. This money could change everything. But fear followed excitement. Adam worried about responsibility. $200 million was not just wealth. It was power. And power could bring trouble. They did not touch anything else. Adam locked the vault again, his hands shaking slightly. They returned upstairs and sat together in silence. That night, no one slept well. Adam dreamed of the mansion filling with voices and strangers. Maria dreamed of people knocking at the doors. Ben dreamed of building schools and libraries. Lily dreamed of bright rooms and laughter. In the morning, Adam called the lawyer again. He explained what they had found. The lawyer was silent for a long moment, then said everything matched old records. The vault and funds were legally theirs. He warned them to move carefully and quietly. News travels fast, even when no one speaks. By afternoon, a car drove slowly past the gate and stopped. Adam watched from a window. A man stepped out, looking around carefully. Adam's heart raced. The past had reached out. Whatever this money meant, the world would not ignore it forever. And the family now stood at the beginning of a path they never planned to walk. The man outside the gate did not stay long. He walked around the fence slowly, made a short phone call, then returned to his car and drove away. Adam watched until the road was empty again. His hands were cold. The quiet of the mansion felt different now, like a warning instead of peace. That evening, Adam gathered his family in the living hall. The large space echoed softly as he spoke. He told them they could not treat this money like a miracle that solved everything at once. They had to be careful. Maria agreed. She said wealth without wisdom could break a family faster than poverty ever did. Ben listened closely. He had thought all night about the note in the vault. It spoke about purpose, not comfort. He shared his thoughts with his parents. He said the money was not only theirs. It felt like a trust, something given to be used carefully. Lily sat beside Maria, holding her hand. She asked one simple question. Would they still be a family like before? Maria smiled and hugged her. She promised that nothing mattered more than staying together. The next few days passed quietly. Adam and Maria met with the lawyer in private. They learned how the funds were protected and how access could be limited. The money was real, but it was hidden behind many layers of safety. No one could touch it without clear records and reasons. Adam decided they would not move any money yet. First, they needed to decide who they wanted to be. They stayed living simply inside the mansion. They did not buy new clothes or cars. Maria continued cooking meals like before. Adam still fixed small things around the house himself. Ben helped Paul with small repairs on the property. Lily turned one empty room into a small play space. One afternoon, Ben found more letters in the library. They were written years ago by the mansion's former owner. They spoke about fame and loneliness, about how success brought many voices but little peace. The letters explained why the vault existed. The money was meant to live longer than applause. Ben shared the letters with Adam and Maria. They read them slowly, understanding more with every page. That night, Adam made a decision. He told Maria and the children that they would create a foundation. The money would be used to help families like theirs, people who worked hard but stayed unseen. They would support education, safe homes, and simple chances. Maria felt relief. This plan felt right. It honored the note and protected their hearts. The lawyer helped them set everything up quietly. The foundation was created without drawing attention. Only small amounts of money were released at first. Grants went to local schools, repair programs, and food centers. The family did not attach their names to anything. Still, whispers began. People noticed changes in the town. Buildings were repaired. Programs reopened. Help arrived where it had been missing for years. Some wondered where the support came from. One evening, Paul told Adam that people were asking questions. Adam thanked him and said they were prepared. The mansion gate opened one morning for an unexpected visitor. It was the same man from before. This time, he came with papers and polite words. He claimed to represent business interests connected to the old estate. He hinted at partnerships and opportunities. Adam listened calmly. When the man finished speaking, Adam said no. He said the property and everything inside it was private and protected. The man smiled, but his eyes were sharp. He left without argument. Maria watched from the window. She felt fear but also pride. Adam had stood firm. Weeks passed. Life slowly settled into a new rhythm. Ben helped plan projects through the foundation. He spent hours reading and learning how systems worked. Lily attended a better school nearby, still laughing the same way she always had. Adam and Maria made one promise to each other. They would never let money decide who they were. They wrote it down and placed the note inside the music room, near the piano. One evening, the family gathered around the piano. Adam pressed a key by accident. The sound was soft but clear. Maria smiled and encouraged him to play. Adam laughed nervously, then pressed another key. Soon, simple sounds filled the room. Lily danced slowly. Ben closed his eyes and listened. The mansion felt warm again. Months later, the foundation quietly helped rebuild a neighborhood damaged by storms. Families moved into safe homes. Children returned to school. No one knew where the help truly came from. Adam watched from a distance, feeling something he had not felt in years. Peace. One final visit to the vault came late one night. Adam stood alone inside, looking at the shelves and the screen. He did not feel excitement anymore. He felt responsibility. He closed the vault and locked it carefully. As he walked back upstairs, he understood the message fully. The money was never the treasure. The real gift was choice. The poor family who once worried about rent now carried a secret that changed lives, not through noise or display, but through quiet care. The mansion was no longer abandoned. It had found its purpose again. And the music, trusted at last, played on in every good thing they chose to do.